Morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream. I'm going to do the January 21st Spiritual Principle a Day in a Meditation. The title of the meditation is Exercising Goodwill. When we practice living in harmony with our world, we become wiser about choosing our battles. We learn where we can use our energy to make a difference and where we need to let go. That comes from the Living Clean book, Chapter 3, Awakening to Our Spirituality. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. We are judgmental because we are human. Human beings assess one another. We compare ourselves. We can be territorial and take sides. We come by this honestly. Our survival once depended on it. Add the self-centered nature of addiction to our humanness, and then throw in something we care passionately about, such as the fellowship of NA. And our judgment can become a weapon to control outcomes about NA-related issues that other members also care about. We can, however, turn down the volume on our judgments. With the volume adjusted, we learn that we can approach people and situations without engaging our fight or flight instincts. Our first thoughts may still be judgmental, but recovery gives us options about our behavior. It's our actions that matter most. When we have some clean time and service experience, it's tempting to tell members, groups, and service committees what's what. But having knowledge and wisdom doesn't give us authority. Group conscience is always more powerful than individual conscience. Sometimes, to our great surprise, newer members don't defer to us, or rather to those of us who have been around for a while, offering insights or suggestions the group had been missing before. Practicing the principle of goodwill with members doesn't mean we stay silent. Our opinions matter. Exercising goodwill assures those opinions don't matter more or less than anyone else's. We listen to others. Don't force the outcome to meet our desire. Allow others to make mistakes. Yes, even the ones we have already made. And acknowledge that our fellow members want the same things as we do: to stay clean and to carry the message in the most effective way possible. Goodwill invokes our primary purpose. It serves the greater good of NA, not our egos. I'll take a stance of goodwill toward others by sharing my experience, not dictating outcomes, and by demonstrating openness to the suggestions of others. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the wee version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Exercising goodwill, doing the right thing for the right reasons, being able to be of service in a manner that is not judgmental, but contributes to the greater good. Even when it doesn't match up with what other people are thinking or their opinions, we have the right to be heard. We have the right to speak up. We don't have the right to hurt people in the process of doing it. That's really the biggest thing here, is that We can turn down the volume of our judgments. We can approach people in situations without a fight or flight instinct. And a lot of people cannot handle that. They are used to the fight, they are expecting the fight. And we can disarm them when we remove the fight or flight instinct. When we dial that judgment down and show that we have a compromising, a teamwork attitude, that we can show cohesiveness even when we may not be feeling cohesive in the moment. This meditation is really very powerful and it's a 5-star. It's something that you should bend the page back on and come back to when you're struggling with applying spiritual principles, when you're dealing with the world outside of yourself, the group, the people on your job, and just to be fair, your family, because we take what we've learned in Narcotics Anonymous about the spiritual principle of goodwill and we apply it. Hopefully, the goal is in all of our affairs. It may not work out like that because a lot of times we become retaliatory when we feel attacked. And if we're retaliatory, right? If we're feeling, attacked and we feel like we're not able to stay in this mode of goodwill, we always can step back and say, let me revisit this. You know what? I need to think about this. Because my natural response to what's going on, I don't feel like it's as centered and balanced as it needs to be. And I don't want to distract from the seriousness of this situation. So let me revisit it. I'll get back to you. Give me a couple days. Disarm people by removing that fight or flight instinct from the situation. And it stabilizes. You'll find it stabilizes things. You'll find that people are not expecting that level of good judgment to come from us. And a lot of times it's because they're so used to us acting out in our character defects because we have unresolved issues. They're used to the using person. And now we've removed that component and we're in a position where we can honestly say, we have choices today. We have the opportunity to respond in a manner that we can live with afterwards. We don't have to back ourselves up into a corner that we can't get out of clean. This meditation, I've seen this meditation being walked out without I'm aware of it, but I'm not saying, okay, goodwill, have goodwill in this situation with your father, right? I haven't had to go and remind myself. It's become a natural instinct. So naturally in this situation, I'm applying goodwill. I'm applying recovery. And it feels good because when I leave today, at some point in time, I could actually leave right now and be okay, right? But at some point in time, I'm going to hug him up, love him up. I will give him my own personal assessment of our here and now. And as long as he's coherent, I'll make a couple of suggestions of how he can, in his final days, I wouldn't say better parent, but handle the baton passing over in a manner that values all of his children that he's raised. Because from what I'm seeing, there's some areas where he's kind of, I don't know if it was just in haste or not thinking clearly, had missed a couple of areas. And I am very much worried about the impact of that on my siblings after he's gone. And so I want to come in before I leave and suggest, Father, that maybe you could tweak this a little bit and make it where it's more palatable, because we all know what you want and we'll honor that. But I think you could just add 3 or 4 words here that will make the other siblings want to have goodwill afterwards, and allow them all, because they were raised by him, to be cohesive. He cannot do that for me, right? He cannot do that for me because I wasn't a part of them like that. Although they're my siblings, right? He can't do that for me, but that is a gift that he can give to them. And so I can come in and I can say, just like this says, well, it doesn't mean that I have to stay silent. Practicing this principle of goodwill doesn't mean we stay silent. Our opinions matter. Excuse me, I'm tired. Experiencing goodwill assures those opinions don't matter more or less than anyone else's. See? So I can come in with that. I can say that my opinion matters. And Dad, I think that you need to add 3 or 4 words, right? So that your children, all of them, will feel as though you thought about each one, right? Instead of having forgotten some names because you're getting older, right? And that's really quite simple, the suggestion, not coming in to rock the boat, right? And you know what? Unfortunately, here we are talking about death again, losing our parents or loved ones, and because of the wreckage of our past. And I really don't believe it was the wreckage of my past, but because of the situation and how I came about, right? The circumstances of my birth were not good. So I was in another family unit, right? And so it was not likely that I would ever be raised with my father. Okay. And it's just amazing that here we are talking about exercising goodwill, but we're talking about how sometimes the wreckage of our past, our disease of addiction, our histories cause us to still be isolated from the family or alienated in some cases from the family. And we have to brace ourselves. I can't tell you how many people in recovery I've talked to that had to brace themselves for the process of losing a loved one, a parent, knowing that their position was not what mattered, that they would not be the executive over the estate, right? The administrator of situations, that they would be bypassed. For one reason or another, it would fall on the shoulders of someone else that more than likely did not have the disease of addiction active in their lives like it was in ours, because that makes more sense to the person passing. That is more practical to them to give it to someone that they feel they know well enough and trust enough. And a lot of times we just don't get to re-earn that trust. If we do, that's wonderful. But a lot of times we don't get to have a seat at the table like that. And I watched a lot of people in recovery give up their recovery after losing a family member that they felt they should have had a better seat at the table or at a seat at all at the table. And that harm that causes them to realize that a part of the wreckage of their past has still not been repairable is oftentimes devastating. Now I have a sponsee that reached out to me and she said, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm so broken. I'm so broken to know that you're loved and that your siblings love you so much. But the seat at the table, I don't have a seat at the table. And to know that they love me and to honor me, but he made a decision. I don't have a seat at the table of his life." And it's so evident. I look around, I see one business card of mine that he has framed. He's framed a business card of mine that has my picture, but he has no other pictures. All these beautiful family photos, and I'm not in a single one of them because I was not a part of that family unit, right? My goodness, my mother was married to someone else when they had me, right? Somebody else's name is on my birth certificate, right? And you want to sit here and listen to this meditation, then let's get into it. Let's really, really talk about the stuff that we are recovering from. Some of the trauma that I've experienced was just their decision to be together, even though my mother was married, right? He could have done what he wanted to do, but you know, at the end of the day, some of the trauma that I've experienced had nothing to do with me, had more to do with their decision that landed them with the baby. So no, I wasn't out. I didn't have a seat at the table. I never did. And so for me to be able to process that and live with that is a miracle. I want to say a work of God, but it's miraculous in many ways. But it's proof of how good Narcotics Anonymous is and how beneficial it's been in my life. And it can be in yours too. And you're going to go through some storms, just like I'm going through this one. You're going to pass through some storms, but you're going to be better prepared for them than you've ever been in your life. And when you see that maybe you've earned the honor back, the respect back, and been given many responsibilities, how beautiful is that? But let's be mindful of everyone that is impacted by what's going on. And we don't have to not include people just because the paperwork doesn't include them. How about that? And so the paperwork includes family members, and I trust their instincts. They love me so much. I'm not worried about that. I don't have a need that hasn't been provided for. I'm not worried about the finances. I'm not worried about that. I am worried about how they're going to come through it, right? And so if you've been given that responsibility as an administrator over something, just because you have that authority to make those decisions doesn't mean that you wield it in a way that hurts people. Try to benefit the group, just like you would in Narcotics Anonymous. Try to benefit the family. We say that sometimes, right? Hello, family. My name is Mighty Stream. Yeah, we use that sometimes. spiritually speaking, but now's the time for us to really be thinking about how we're going to apply it in our day to day lives with our own families, our biological families, the ones we were born into. When things don't go our way or things seem like it's still ending up the way that it started, we have to be able to look that in the face and recover, not run. So I've shared my heart, and I feel good. I'm leaving this town today feeling good. What I came to do, I've been able to do that and then some, which is to allow my boys to see him, have a conversation with him, exercising goodwill for them, and to make sure my siblings have considered everything that needs to be considered before he draws his last breath. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope that you have a beautiful day on purpose.